everyone, welcome back to Yusuf Reacts. Today, we're diving into one of the most iconic franchises in sci-fi history, Terminator, Dark Fate. This 2019 film attempts to reboot the legendary Terminator series. But does it live up to the legacy of its predecessors? Let's break it down. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more movie reviews. Alright, let's kick things off with a quick summary. Terminator, Dark Fate is set after the events of Terminator 2, Judgment Day, ignoring the other sequels. Sarah Connor, played by the ever-badass Linda Hamilton, is back, teaming up with a new character, Grace, a human-machine hybrid played by Mackenzie Davis, to protect Donnie Ramos' Natalia Reyes from a new deadly Terminator called the Rev 9. The stakes are high as the new Terminator is more advanced than ever, and it's a race against time to save humanity's future. Oh, and did I mention Arnold Schwarzenegger is back as a T-800? Classic! One of the highlights of this movie is definitely the return of Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor. She's tough, scarred by her past, and still a force to be reckoned with. Hamilton's portrayal is powerful and filled with emotion, and she gives the film much-needed grit. Mackenzie Davis as Grace is a standout as well. Her character's vulnerability, combined with her incredible fighting skills, adds a fresh dynamic to the franchise. And of course, Natalia Reyes does a solid job as Donnie, the future savior figure in this storyline. Her character is a bit underdeveloped, but Reyes brings a lot of heart to the role. Now, let's talk about the villain. The Rev 9 is one of the most terrifying Terminators we've seen so far. He can split into two, has liquid metal abilities like the T-1000, and is pretty much unstoppable. Gabriel Luna does a great job making him both charming and deadly. But, is it enough to make us forget the T-800 and T-1000 from the originals? Not quite, but he comes close. Dark Fate brings back the classic Terminator themes: the fight against fate, survival, and humanity versus technology. While it echoes many elements of Terminator 2, it still manages to keep the action fresh. There are plenty of intense action scenes, especially the opening sequence and the epic final battle. However, while the action is spectacular, the story itself feels a bit predictable at times. It's definitely a fun ride, but it doesn't quite recapture the magic of the earlier films. And of course, we have to talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger's return as the T-800, or Carl, as he's called in this movie. His role adds a good dose of humor and heart, and it's great to see the character evolve beyond just a killing machine. It's definitely a nostalgic moment for longtime fans of the franchise. An augmented human and Sarah Connor must stop an advanced liquid Terminator from hunting down a young girl, whose fate is critical to the human race. A young female Mexican worker, Donnie Ramos, is hunted down by a virtually indestructible Terminator from the future called a Rev 9. However, she is protected by an enhanced human named Grace, who is also from the future. They flee from the unstoppable Terminator, and out of the blue, Sarah Connor helps them on the road. All three head to Laredo, Texas, where Grace has the coordinates of a possible support, and where they meet a T-800 who is living in an isolated location with his family. The group teams up to try to destroy the Rev 9. In 1998, 3 years after averting the threat of Skynet, Sarah Linda Hamilton, the former future leader of the human resistance in the war against the machine Skynet, now a battle-hardened senior woman and left alone after her son's death, Sarah hunts and kills Terminators to prevent Judgment Day and forestall the coming conflict. She later learns that despite of having destroyed the company's Cyberdyne systems, it only caused a setback to the US military's agenda on the development of autonomous weapon systems. Results the creation of Skynet's successor Legion in the future. Due to her previous encounters with the machines, she is at odds with Carl and Grace, being responsible for altering the future, and after learning of Donnie's destiny leading a new resistance against Legion, she prepares her as she did John, and John Connor are enjoying life by a beach in Livingston, Guatemala. when they are suddenly attacked by a T-800 Terminator Arnold Schwarzenegger, an aging Terminator built by Skynet, and one of several sent back in time to kill John Connor. Having completed its mission, it gained autonomy and freed from Skynet, and integrated into human society. Moving to Laredo, Texas, marrying a human and raising a stepson. It later joins forces with Sarah and Grace to help protect Donnie Ramos from Legion's Terminators. Though Sarah continues to hate Carl for her son's death, Grace and Donnie respect and trust the old machine after learning its efforts to make amends to Sarah, and Donnie befriends Carl after acknowledging its benevolence. Sent back through time by Skynet prior to its erasure, the Terminator murders John before disappearing. 22 years later, an advanced Terminator called Rev 9 is sent back in time to Mexico City to murder Daniela Donnie Ramos Natalia Reyes, a young woman who works for a Mexico City-based automobile industrial plant, Arias Motors, with her brother, Diego. Donnie is being targeted for termination by the new advanced Terminator prototype Rev 9. Prior to the film's events, she and her brother are planning to emigrate legally to the United States, in hope for a better life and opportunities, including the healthcare their ailing father needs. At some point in her childhood, Donnie's mother abandoned her family and died after attempting to cross the border illegally. Sarah Connor initially believes that Donnie, like herself, is the destined mother of the resistance leader. Later, it is revealed that Donnie is fated to take on a role akin to that of Sarah's deceased son John Connor. As the founding commander of the resistance in the war against the machines of Legion, with Sarah as her mentor. Once she assumes her role as resistance commander, having survived the events that her younger self is going through, Donnie has foreknowledge that Grace would meet Sarah Connor shortly after arriving in the past and instructs her to seek Skynet's T-800 for aid by tattooing its location's coordinates on her. While a cybernetically enhanced soldier, Grace Mackenzie Davis, a soldier from the year 2042 taken in by Resistance Commander Daniela Ramos as a teenager. Trained in military combat by Daniela, Grace was converted into a cyborg to save her life after she sustained fatal stab wounds, following a security detail against a number of Rev 7s for the critically wounded commander. Augmented with Legion's technology, she has abilities equivalent to a Terminator. During short periods of time and requiring constant medication and nourishment, her augmentations give her the ability to sense Legion's machines when nearby, but not Skynet's due to the differences of their technologies. Daniela sends Grace to protect her younger self from Legion's new advanced Terminator prototype. She then learns about the initial timeline after meeting Sarah Connor and Skynet's surviving T-800 unit Carl. She and Sarah share a mutual distrust, due in parts because the latter sees her as a novice and being part machine. Despite knowing that Carl is a Terminator and what he did to Sarah's son, she trusts him as a comrade and friend, mainly because of her fascination with his behavioral developments and awareness that he is not one of Legion's machines. She also briefs Sarah, Donnie, and Carl about Legion, is sent to protect her. The Rev 9, disguised as Daniela's father, infiltrates the assembly plant where Donnie and her brother Diego Bonetta work, but is thwarted by Grace, who escapes with the siblings. The Rev 9 Gabriel Luna, an advanced Terminator prototype that originated from Legion and was sent back in time to terminate Donnie. Featuring a traditional solid endoskeleton covered with a mimetic polyalloy. The Rev 9 possesses the ability to separate these two components into two separate, fully autonomous units. In addition, the Rev 9 has the ability to exhibit intelligent behavior paralleling humans, including emotions, which enables it to outclass most of Skynet's Terminators in infiltration, revealing its ability to split itself into its cybernetic endoskeleton and shape-shifting liquid metal exterior, pursues them, killing Diego and cornering Grace and Donnie. However, Sarah arrives and temporarily disables the Terminator with explosives. Donnie, Grace, and Sarah retreat to a motel so Grace can recover. Sarah reveals that she found them because in the years since John's death, She has received encrypted messages detailing the locations of arriving Terminators, each ending with "for John." Grace notes that neither Skynet nor John exists in her timeline. Instead, humanity is threatened by an AI called Legion, developed by the SAC NORAD for cyber warfare. Legion took control of servers worldwide, and in desperation, humanity tried to neutralize it with nuclear weapons, resulting in a nuclear holocaust and the AI creating a global network of machines to terminate the human survivors. Grace traces Sarah's messages to Laredo, Texas, barely evading the Rev 9 and the authorities when crossing the Mexico-United States border. They arrive at their source, where they discover the same T-800 that murdered John. Having fulfilled its mission and with Skynet no longer existing, the T-800 was left aimless, and through learning it developed self-awareness. During that time, it learned from humanity and built a conscience, taking the name Carl and adopting a human family. After learning how its actions affected Sarah, and being able to detect temporal displacements, Carl decided to forewarn her of them to give her purpose. Carl offers to join them against the Rev 9 and they make preparations to destroy it. Sarah begrudgingly agrees to work together for Donnie's sake. Anticipating the Rev 9's arrival, Carl bids its family farewell and tells them to escape. The group gives Donnie tactical weapons training and plans how to ambush the Rev 9. In order to do so, they seek out a military-grade EMP from an acquaintance of Sarah's. The Rev 9 catches up with them, forcing them to steal a C-5 Galaxy to escape, though the EMPs are destroyed in the resulting shootout. During the flight, Grace further reveals that Donnie becomes the future founding commander of the Resistance, as well as her rescuer. Sarah and Carl realize that they were fated to meet Grace and Donnie. The Rev 9 boards their airplane by using a KC-10 extender and temporarily subdues Carl, forcing Grace, Sarah and Donnie to jump from the plane into a river near a hydropower plant, with Carl and the Rev 9 following close behind. Bludgeoned, the group makes a stand inside. In the ensuing battle, Carl and Grace force the Rev 9 into a spinning turbine, causing an explosion that critically damages the two Terminators and mortally wounds Grace. The damaged Rev 9's endoskeleton then incapacitates Sarah, forcing Donnie to confront it herself. A dying Grace tells Donnie to use her power source to destroy the Rev 9. Donnie tries to fight the Rev 9, but is quickly overpowered. Carl reactivates and restrains the Rev 9, allowing Donnie to stab it with Grace's power source. Carl drags itself and the Rev 9 over a ledge and tells Sarah for John, right before the power core explodes, destroying them both. Sometime later, Donnie and Sarah watch over a 10-year-old Grace at a park with her family, the former determined to avert Grace's death. Sarah then tells Donnie she needs to get ready, with Grace watching as the pair drives off. So, what's the final verdict on Terminator: Dark Fate? It's a thrilling action-packed movie with some strong performances, especially from Linda Hamilton and Mackenzie Davis. The new villain, Rev 9, is a formidable foe, and the return of the T-800 adds some great nostalgia. But at the end of the day, it doesn't quite reach the heights of Judgment Day. For fans of the series, it's definitely worth watching, but if you are new to the Terminator franchise, you might want to start with the first two classics before diving into this one. That's it for today's review of Terminator: Dark Fate. What did you think of the movie? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more movie breakdowns, reviews, and everything sci-fi. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.